Hello everyone. I wanted to give you a final screencast on this specific section to help guide you in your study. We have a couple of models here to help you resolve ethical dilemmas that I really want you to pay attention to and to embrace, and I really would like you to truly consider printing this whole actual lesson builder, because I think it'll be helpful for you preparing for licensure exam. I highly recommend you print all lesson builders actually to help you study. But I really think these two ethical, specifically these two models to help you resolve ethical dilemmas are quite good. And the one we're looking at first is Dolly Swisher's, who talks a lot about an ethical compass. So what does she mean by the ethical compass? The ethical compass essentially is giving you a pointer to help you point in the direction of some tools that help you resolve whatever situation you have, which is causing you to really make a decision that perhaps is a little bit uncomfortable, to be quite honest, or to help guide you in some decision making early on. And the key documents that we look to redirect is the rules and regulations of the state of Oregon, the standards of ethical conduct for the PTA, and certainly the code of ethics for the PT, which the standards mirror, and vice versa. And then to look in the microscope of the worksite code of ethics, because different employers have their own code of ethics, or a mission in some cases that help guide resolution of ethical dilemmas. So where I wanted you to start to do some thinking as we introduce these models is to look at times in your life where you've had to make decisions that have been uncomfortable, and to really take those decisions and put them in light of healthcare, into a different light, into a different setting. And I think the one thing I would like to talk about, and we'll talk about it more later, is there is a golden rule that gets cited quite often as the way to guide your decision making, and I don't think that's necessarily always problematic, but I think where it is problematic is that your standards and your ethics related to what you would want do to others to have them do unto you don't in all cases match up to what other people's golden rule is. In other words, we all have our own golden rule, and that is based on several things. It's based on our upbringing. It's based on certainly religious beliefs or experience, shaped by the influence of our parents, teachers. And so that's where the golden rule gets complicated, is that everybody has their own version of what that is. And it can get muddy because what you expect to be treated may not be consistent with how the other person wants to be treated, or how the other person expects to be treated. They may have different standards than you, and what's right for one person isn't necessarily the same as what's right for the next, although as much as we'd like to think so. But there's guides, and the guides that I really want to bring you back to are those standards of ethical conduct for the PTA, the rules and regulations, and certainly your workplace ethics. And your own personal ethics certainly are guided by these other formative parts of your life, whether that be, your religious belief or your secular beliefs. I mean, there are people who are very strong atheists that have a fairly strong code of ethics, even though they are not theists, for example. So I think that is something to just acknowledge, and to realize that it's not always religion that guides people's ethics. it can be a humanistic perspective, which is where some people are at, and probably more so in Oregon than other states, for sure. And then we're going to talk a bit about professionalism, and this is where I really want you to be spending some time about what Gabbard, who's a well-known ethics instructor from Chapman University, a book, I'm sure it's been republished since 2011. I'm not requiring you to buy the book anymore. It's an excellent textbook, by the way. But he really looks at, and this is consistent with what is still touted as what is a professional, the independent judgment within the scope of your licensure. And the advanced expertise and skill is something that you're all going to gain with more experience. And belonging to your professional organization, that's consistent with other professions as well, belong to the organization. So to truly say you're a complete professional, belonging to your professional organization is part of that, and is important, I think, to really embrace and to learn from your organization by being committed to evidence-based practice and have access to evidence-based practice and going to conferences that just up your professionalism through those interactions with other professionals and taking Con Ed, for example, that are about professionalism. So I think that's all for now. You have this assignment that's due at the end of this week. A lot of you are going to look at this and say, well, there's not enough information. Your scenario questions for licensure exam will look somewhat like this. They won't give you a ton of descriptors, so I expect there'll be some pushback from some of you that you need to have more information. I deliberately made this kind of vague. It's actually from a model that is used in PT education, and it's just to kind of get you thinking, because you're not going to have all the information when you make a decision like this. You're going to have to decide quickly who gets seen for therapy, and based on the information you have, you don't have 15 minutes to look at everyone's chart and to go through an extensive review of their chart notes. You're just going to have some pretty vague information out there to help you guide you to make a decision, and that's where it gets complicated. And that is actually based on reality too, especially if you're working for a larger organization in acute care or subacute care. So the Oregon case law, I'm just kind of redirecting you here. This case one with John Duckworth is not a required assignment, but I really would like you to do it. And I do think there's some room for some extra credit points there. I'm not going to tell you how many, but certainly if you do the assignment and I log that you do it, if you're in the middle between an A and a B, I think if you do this assignment well, there's some latitude there to bump you up a grade because of your commitment to learning. So something to consider. It's always kind of a mix to who actually does the assignment. Again, it's not required, and it's not submitted, but I would like to hear your thoughts about this particular case. I really would be interested in learning your thoughts. Okay, and then we have the reference check assignment. I'm going to modify it. Well, Jen actually taught some of you in Table Rock campus last year, so she could still be a reference for you. Everyone else's names is up there that has taught you. And then to get started on your resume, which is not due until later, specifically the 24th of April, till about midnight. Okay, so you all are going to do a resume. That is part of the learning objectives, even though many of you may already have jobs. Putting together a resume and getting feedback is a real rich opportunity to have, and from someone who's reviewed a lot of resumes and has interviewed candidates for jobs, specifically me, is to help you if you are going to eventually look for a job again, which most of you will. It gives you that opportunity to have your resume hopefully brushed up and ready if that opportunity comes along. All right, enough talking for now, and have a good week, and we'll see all of you on Friday when Sherry and Rick come to the Eugene campus. And again, those of you who will not be able to make it to the Eugene campus can connect distance-based via Zoom meeting.